Hello, everyone, and welcome to our lucky 13th event in the Nightlight Poetry Series. It feels only fitting for a month that had a Friday the 13th just a little less than a week ago. My name is Tom Snarsky, and I'm delighted to be here with you tonight on this beautiful September evening to hear some poems by this fantastic lineup of four wonderful readers. In case you haven't listened in before, Nightlight is a reading series featuring poets and writers in a monthly Zoom, usually on the third Thursday of the month at 9 p.m. Eastern. At each of our events, we feature a group of invited readers to share a selection of their work with us. Having slots for readers every month means we're always looking for folks who'd be interested in participating. So if you know or are yourself a poet or writer who'd be willing to share their work at a future event, please get in touch with us. I would love to hear from you. I do admit that I have a backlog of folks to get back to about future slots, but that doesn't mean I'd like to hear any less from you. You can always reach out to us on the Nightlight socials. We have a Twitter account at Nightlight Poems and an Instagram account at night_light_poems_. Or you can just get in touch with me directly at Tom Snarsky on the Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky platforms, or just tomsnarsky@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you and love to find a way to get you in a Nightlight lineup one of these times. Bring a friend. That's what's happening tonight. We've got some folks who word of mouth invited some friends, and that's always like my favorite vibe that a reading can have. So I have said plenty about the series, and now I'm very excited to do something I would also encourage you to do, which is I'm going to sit back, relax, and I'm going to listen to the brilliant work of tonight's first reader, who I'll introduce in just a moment, and that is Buck Downs. Sending postcards, stickers, voicemails, and other ephemera across the country and around the world, Buck Downs creates a body of work as boundless and intimate as life and death. You can find his latest book, Nice Nose, at buckdowns.com, buckdowns.com, or anywhere fine books are sold. I've been a longtime reader and fan of Buck's work, and I'm just so glad he's here tonight. All yours, Buck. Take it away. Excited to hear what you're going to read.
So yeah, so there it is in reverse order. But yeah, you can find it at your bookstore, order it at bookshop.org or wherever you get books online. And thank you, Tom, and thanks everybody. A higher calling than making a living. That's my job. Sweet invisible means of support. Love won't shut up. No, you shut up. My favorite place to smoke is in my house, and I secretly adore that it smells like a sweaty ashtray, even after I've been gone for 2 weeks. Bad apartment, tough lover. That bedroom had some teeth. This poem's called Son of a Bitch. What can you say when someone hateful loves you? A fidget button for pushing some unlabeled trap door I always fall for. My desire to push the button. I have no idea. What does this do? Screaming dog in the background. And when people ask, why does your dog scream like that? I say she's very advanced. God is not afraid of the darkness. It's where I do my best work. My mom was like, you can't Google worth a fuck. Give me that. Magic is accidental. Anyone tells you they know how to do magic, they're just putting you on. This one's called The Small Pillow. I sleep with a small pillow, primitive form of a stuffed animal for something to do with my hands in my sleep. It's a poem from Mayakovsky. Many are the poets who claim to have had a true conversation with the sun. The sun has disavowed any knowledge of their actions. Anyone who has looked directly into the sun can tell you the truth is not the whole story. Love poem. The moon is made out of love. That's why it's so hard, etc. An ice cream cone that could lick itself would find it has lost its reason for being. Funny how digging a hole feels like climbing when your head is up your ass. Money makes nothing happen, and yet men die every day for what it is they find there. This one's called Small Talk, and she's all like, treat you like an animal. I'm like, animals treat me pretty good. It's a thin line, America. You want to get fired, but you don't want to get arrested. Two television poems. Television poem. Scooby Doo doesn't even know he's dead. That's not true. Scooby Doo is back and looking better than ever. When I woke up, there was a television in my mouth. It was showing the name of my life, the secret name. Everyone watched what I could not see. They heard what I did not know. So that's nice nose. You know, holiday season is coming up. I got two words for you: stocking stuffer. I got two more: Secret Santa. Experience, man. Yeah, Anselm Hollow, Maureen Owen, Alice Notley. These are all books I've taken to corporate Secret Santa gift giving events, and people have absolutely, it was the hit of the night. So it doesn't have to be nice nose, it could be, but get you lay in a supply of some poetry books and just be dishing them out here during the holidays. This is called the Nightcrawler. Swerve becomes a grind, and the groove finds itself in a rut. Well, that's history for you, worming its way through the dark, one mouthful at a time. The thing about your garbage is it's not yours. You made a deal, you put it out, they take it away, and you let them. A photo I saw but do not have. The tale of somebody who didn't exist based on the life of someone who did. He sold the farm, he bought the farm. Either way, it didn't turn out well. America had buried their president. That was what they called it anyway. Not the sort of thing you get to write about if you write jokes for a living. Pulp medicine. Hey, don't ask me what's in it. Just get some down you, and directions will kick in on the back end. If you ask me, how does this work? I say fine. It works just fine. Informed torment, an old man being led around by the nose by his followers, the mocking echo of a secret you used to know and now struggle to remember who you told it to. He said, you know, you're old when light is useless against the dark. It's a poem for dinosaurs. There was a dinosaur civil war, and it got pretty out of hand. One day, the dinosaurs decided to get back in their flying saucers and fly on back home. This earth that was our paradise, the dinosaurs ravished it and split, and we have been feasting on the ruin they left behind. This is kind of ars poetica. It's called Shy Boy. I served as my own source text, cutting and pasting in and out of my body like I was a human document, indifferent to how I felt or what I might have meant, delighted in my self erasure, my sweet, mutilated baby, my mirror, myself. I rule. Fucking rule. I'll close it up with this one. Thanks again, Tom. Thank you all for listening. This is called Splitting in Nacho Fries with You. You and some savior you don't believe in walk into a bar. If 30 days of nacho fries aren't enough to bring you to the dark side, then you must be an angel of light. Never leave my sight and get me a Coke while you're there. Thanks so much, y'all.
What a beautiful way to start us off. Thank you so much, Buck, for that incredible reading. We were just like getting whiplash in the chat, quoting lines at each other and being so excited. That was real good. That was Buck Downs, who you can find on Instagram at the something for nothing, TheSomethinGFornothing. And again, Nice Nose you can find at buckdowns.com, and also Buck's book Recreational Vehicle, which is a personal favorite of mine, was just out, I think, again, or re-released in like February, Buck, is that right? Yeah, awesome. So it's just out again in February. You can search recreational vehicle Buck Downs and it'll show up and you can get it. And it's got just some really, really beautiful stuff in it. Oh yeah, a new fan here. You've got new fans in the chat. People are thrilled. So that was a high velocity, high octane way to get us going. And I'm so, so excited to lead into our next reader of the evening, a returning reader for Nightlight, and that is Kate Pyontek. Kate Piontek's work has appeared in journals including Poetry, Ecotone, Southeast Review, Consequence, Indianapolis Review, and the Lickety Split, and been nominated for Best New Poets in the Pushcart Prize. Kate's originally from New Jersey, based in New England, and currently in residence at the Volland Foundation in central Kansas, where they're joining us right now. Kate, thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm so excited to hear what you're going to read.
Thank you, Tom. And thank you, Buck. That was amazing. I still think about the why is your dog scream like that? She's very advanced. So good. I'm going to read for about 10 minutes. I'm going to read, I think, 6 poems. And yeah, there's a lot of new shit in there. But the first one is published or older. It is published. It came out in the Show Poetry Journal in August, I think. I haven't gotten my copy yet, but I believe it's out. This is Ecological Study, Floodplain. Along the road to the once flooded park, the prickly pear blossomed into goldfinches. Tonight, nauseous and shivering, the oil of questioning lingers. Crows swoop and pluck hair, cackle as they drop strands like rumors. 3 stags keep company behind the dumpster, and the headless, wingless angel waits alone in section 57. I'm trying to help who I can. I can't. Not the deer, the dead, or myself. Seasons endure quietly, waiting to transmute in their own good time. The river withdraws. The field remains a battle of dead mollusks. This is how grief persists, through stench of violence left behind. The silt misplaced that dulls greens and destroys bloom. And yet, rain is needed, now gentle, to wash clean what too much rain wrought. The crows pull at entrails of a bloated rat. Later, they will remember only what they pretended was heirloom, and nothing of their greed, the dead, or what they stole. This is some new shit. This is Bone Church. This is from July, maybe. Okay. Bone Church. A bather steps into the lake and stands still, waits for the minnows to flutter through their toes. In 100 years, there would be more space for the fish, but that isn't quite the point, is it? There's the issue of flesh, feeling the body of muscle under scales as they winnow through, the sense of a life touching a life, and of not being alone, not the only silt-settled thing. At Sedlets, they made chandeliers from skulls, life removed from the equation of togetherness. A cathedral of bones can be a sacred place. Holy can mean a way to survive after the worst. Finding beauty in the smooth hollow of an orbit or the arrangement of so many lost, just gone to new purpose. Historically, Safety and cruelty have often been difficult to distinguish. Consider doctors, lovers, church. Stone set on top of stones, hands digging to clear the crawling foliage, humans invasive as any species that ornaments. The old walls, old ways of demarcation, or through frost heave of joining, repair is the invisible act of surviving, which is to say, skull chandeliers. It is sometimes shocking what people will do in kindness: gather bones, pull weeds, clear the debris from the base. Isn't this love? To attempt repair, to make beautiful, to be generous with what remains? This is brand new shit. I wrote this yesterday. We were talking about the moon earlier, and this is kind of about the moon, very much about the moon. I'm currently in Kansas, and their state motto is per aspera ad astra. So that's the title of this one. Per aspera ad astra. After coming all the way out to the tall grass, now the question of whether I might need to turn back. How everything changes with a brief transmission. Not even the voicemail, just the notice of one. It is not a bad thing, just a wind change, a sudden shift in the weather. The moon is a full tablespoon of bitter yellow medicine, all wrong on the tongue, but healing in the body. At the hour of the obscuring, I head from the stone house into the side yard to watch the just-filled dose spill into the stars, bright yellow soaking into a darkness that feathers at the round, and somehow the moon is more beautiful for this change, the destruction of what was whole and seemingly perfect for something new and unexpected, and for how the moon always comes back. Earlier, we passed the grain elevator in town where some 36 turkey vultures sat on the crossbeams, their huge dark shapes like tower babies, watching ominous and unpromising. My host gazed up adoringly. The man praised their featherless, adaptive heads. The woman said, there are swallows of Capistrano, arriving to announce the start of spring and leaving again with the fall. When she turned and shouted, look, I expected to see another vulture behind me, but it was only the moon, the bright, inconstant moon, looming super large over my shoulder, sitting on the perch of the night. As the moon eclipses, yellow fading to black, I drop to my knees in the yard. This, the periodic erasure of expectations of a self, seems all living is. Season changes ushered in by bareheaded vulnerability. It does not ever end. I'm leaving one place at its peak toward another at its fallow, and this stumble is a curative dissonance, I know, just a brief shadow, and I'm trying to remind myself that I believe in a pattern with a future bright. So I heard recently that this is more moon shit, new shit, but not quite as new. I heard recently that we're gonna have a temporary second moon on the 29th of September. I did not read why yet, but I thought that was the coolest thing I've ever heard. So this is Ecological Study New Moon. It's sort of related. The moon is wet. A moon's moon is called a moon moon. The moon is rolling down the street, chased by its handlers. Every year, the moon spirals away from the moonstruck by a span of 2 fingers. The moon is wobbling, spilling cups, throwing oceans. The prophets share moon facts as sacred, as if gathering enough moon might illuminate how to hold on through those dark phases when the light cannot be seen. Okay, I'm going to read 2 more. On the Saguenay River. Halfway through the morning's coffee and no closer to solving the world's problems. The sky ombres azure into Alice against the deep pine vertical of mountain across the river. There is so little I can hope for in the unnumbered days that remain. Still, I hope assiduously, like a pilgrim miles on the way. The ships bob in the river with the placid gulls. How steady it must be to float serene here, green on all sides, hunted neither by the past nor what follows. If I look, long enough into the current, I almost forget how afraid I am, how dire the days pull. Sometimes I do forget, and for a moment, nothing needs to be done. That is the trap. That is the release, the ease of oblivion, a Chicxulub cratering of the self. What am I without my grief, my agitation and want for change? What am I with it, inconsequential as I am? The birds take flight and are replaced by birds. The coffee runs out, ships move on and become new ships. Up the long winding hill in the park with the electrical tower and its wires, there is a wooden platform overlooking the wide blue river, and far below, a vertiginous distance, boats look like toys surtask, running to and fro, and maybe I should be living other lives, more enlightened, more cohesive, but I don't actually give a damn about shrines. I'm just walking, and each step means nothing, and each step is everything I have. Okay. Thank you so much for having me. I am going to read one final poem, and that's it. This poem was published in April. I wrote this poem in 2019 when children were being separated from their parents at the southern border, and it only recently got picked up, but still relevant. The title is Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, Article 2, Item E, which is about how one measure of genocide is separating children from their parents. In June, the apricot tree sagged with squat fruit that fell splat on the sidewalk. Children jumped for the velvet orbs. By mid-July, all had disappeared. All except juice stains on concrete. As if no velvet, no fruits, no children jumping. Flowery sweetness in the air gone. The tree had always been empty. The ground had always been stained. In January, a child asked, "What tree is this?" And nobody could remember. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Kate, for that incredible reading, those marvelous, marvelous poems, and adding to our genre of new shit with new ships as well. That was beautiful, and that was Kate Pyontek, who you can find on the socials on Twitter at Pyontek, Pyontek, on Instagram at Kate Pyontek. Kate also has a personal website, katepyontek.com, and a mostly dormant Substack, but you can check it out at katepyontek.substack.com. Keep an eye out for Kate's work. This is, I think, Kate's second time reading as part of Nightlight, and I hope it's the second of many because that was marvelous and just takes us to our halfway point, which is always a really beautiful inflection, especially thinking about that moon that's going to be like slingshotting with moon orbits stuff that I don't fully understand very, very quickly. But entering the back half of the order, I am so excited to be welcoming a friend of the series and of me, someone whose work I've admired for a very, very long time, and I'm so excited to hear tonight, C.T. Salazar. C.T. Salazar is a Latinx poet and librarian from Mississippi. C.T.'s book, Headless John the Baptist Hitchhiking, is available from Acre Books, and it'll blow your mind. And C.T., I am so excited for whatever you're going to read. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah. My friend Ben is here, and Ben and I like send the same poem back and forth over DMs, and it's a William Aberg poem called "Romantic Firewood," and it's like the strangest thing in the world. But kind of modeled after that poem. This one is actually dedicated to Ben, so I'm gonna go ahead and read it. It's called "Made of Mud." I thought I was outgrowing grief, but I was growing wings instead. The black snake gone blue in the light. Out of the garden and down the battlefield, my love is shining like a smoking star. The cattle have come, songless and singed. Heaven's gates are electric, filled with wings, and love is a blue snake biting soldiers on the battlefield. You've got my permission, but the emptiness fills the bright fruit. You've got my persimmons, but the emptiness feels like the cattle are growing wings. Garden in the battlefield light. Soldiers are out smoking, shining grief for the black snake, in love with the song, biting fruit instead. I thought I was outgrowing wings. Instead, blue in the light and down the battlefield shining, the cattle have come. Heaven's gates are filled with wings. Love is a blue snake on the battlefield, but the emptiness feels like you've got my persimmons. But the cattle are growing wings. The soldiers are out smoking grief for the black snake, biting fruit, growing grief. But I was the black snake gone out of the garden. My love is a smoking star, songless and singed, electric and biting soldiers. You got my permission, the bright fruit. The emptiness feels like garden in the battlefield light, shining in love with the song instead. This is a brand new poem. Um, yeah, we'll see how I haven't read this out loud. Um, so we'll see. We're in this one together. um, this poem is called "In My Town, Any Bed Can Be a Deathbed." Thus the shovels and the hospitality. We make ends meet in the meantime. The way a moth with orange wings flashing brief across the face makes a beautiful mask. I've got bill collectors with gentler names than the flowers this year, and friends with rifles the government gave them. What if I'm my own failure to know my odds after all, like the wolves who starved as it got harder to sniff out our firstborn because we started to smell like wolves ourselves? Our shared dream looks like a river, so we swim in it. The blue sword of air in the heron's neck rips the veil from top to bottom, and I am prepared to make this about godlessness and disappear a circle of mothers who sew the blue sail. Imagine being that stitching. You already are. I'm wondering if I can cover a wound I had no hand in making. I'll put a steeple on anything, even that liquor store we lost you to. While throwing dead grass at heaven, I found an ancient rusted barge writing little obituaries with its spilt contents. We are like the wilderness in that way, always breaking our contracts with memory. One day I'll have to let all of this go, even the way my dad says boy and means boomerang, come back. Autobiography. I can never escape it. There's too much cemetery in this dirt to hide the evidence of our inmate labored world. When the steel mill moves out, a prison will move in, but right now, my brother is making more money than he's ever seen. And I keep finding myself where I shouldn't be, loving a man who holds a book like he's staring into a skull. The storm cloud colored birds, the horse that smells like the forest fire it spent the night running through. Sometimes the bombers practice how quietly they can fly through a country by flying through their own. I watched your imprint in the grass rising long after you got up. That the state would kill us means we're in pursuit of its fathomable limit, or we're not. Out here, I don't feel like I'm anything, but my beloved is painting a fresh red coat on the old red barn. My heart is hardwood, clear cut. Like the wilderness, I'm in my own way. Help me dream my deceased back into heavy thrashing catfish. This is only the beginning. Some cages are purposed to encourage your confession. Here's mine. There is no magic trick. All those people who disappeared are dead, and I went on living, no longer fearing the flood that will revise all of this. Lifting your casket, it made sense. We are as much the levee as the levee. And I think I'll read two more, but they're both shorter. Thanks. Uh, yeah, I've been thinking about a lot of stuff lately. This poem is called "O Ye Cattle Thieves." In your city, I say thank you. My problem is I thought I was a visitor to the death machine, but actually I am a citizen. Our last governor killed us. Our new one puts on a white apron every morning like the butcher he is. Thank you. My father used to whisper it into the phone, and I knew death was a golden guillotine some men watched sway over their children. I'm worried I'm asking the wrong questions entirely, but what happens if your copper-bottomed heart catches too much rain? And who is watching the police watch you? If God is out naming fireflies after jurors who helped convict innocent people, if the propaganda says you can be innocent, what would you trade for that? I smell the pines on you. Do your hands hurt from holding them against your father's antlers? Does our slow death have a flag we could burn? It's silly to miss you this much when you're right here, I thought, but didn't say. And this last poem is it's from a series reimagining in the Old Testament. There's kind of a little parable of Elijah the prophet, like resurrecting a dead child that a widow is mourning. And in some of the translation, well, one, we never know what killed the child, but in some of the translations, um, Elijah actually suffers regret for doing that, like thinking like, I don't think I should have done that. Um, so this series of poems is reimagining that child as a queer boy in Mississippi. So this poem is called "The Boy Elijah Raised Remembers His Last Night Alive." On your temple, my finger, your swirling ram's horn, the sky was transgressing soft. The ideas blue, but bourboning with light. Still, like time, I am most valuable when stolen. Like the time I shared a glass of wine with flies the next day, holy ghost of a cloud they made. The nights I was a briar patch for your catching. Everyone talked about the future like we're not in it, but I know love by the roadkill it makes of its distractions. I stepped into a gown of moonlight. I thought I knew this town. Thanks, y'all.
Oh man, what a reading that was, CT. I like at the end of the deathbed poem, I realized I had like risen 4 inches in my chair and like was sitting my ass back down. We all just went quiet in the chat because I think we were wrapped. That was CT Salazar reading some new shit, reading some incredible, incredible work. I don't even have my tabs open anymore. I've been so bewildered by that incredible reading. CT is on Twitter at CT Salazar, CTSALAZAR underscore, and on Instagram at Dog Paws, our best paws. Again, Headless John the Baptist Hitchhiking is out from Acre Books, and CT's got so many more marvelous things in the works that watch this space couldn't be more apt, I think. Thank you so much, CT, for being here and launching us into the final reader of this evening, who I'm incredibly excited to welcome to Nightlight, someone who CT knows and I believe like got this whole coordination together. So this was a really lovely confluence, that beautiful vibe of like read with your friends, which is the best thing I can think of. Our final reader of the evening is Annika Bratton. And Annika is a poet on the southern Oregon coast. She enjoys big feelings, bodies of water, and dinner with friends. She's at Annika allegedly on Instagram, Annika underscore allegedly. And we're so, so, so glad to have her here. Annika, thanks for being here. The floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Tom, for having me and for hosting this space. This has been so just like cool and fulfilling to get to hear so many amazing poems tonight. So I am reading a few that are kind of new shit, kind of old, wiggly, amorphous shit. But this first one is called My Dog Evades Capture Visiting My Family's Farm. She can smell that there is good earth here, and she must be right. Can smell all the places I buried the hatchet and dug it back up. My dog looks like me, the way storms are indistinguishable. She goes sprinting across this damp valley like a prophet with the answer on their tongue and blood on their hands. Me and my dog. Our breath is sour. We both fail to listen to my mother when it matters most. Sweet deserter on the gravel road, scent slick, belligerent. I forget she didn't grow up here. How could I know intimately something she has never seen? We sleep in the same bed. We both know what it's like to sink our teeth into something not meant for us. I love her for it. Oh no, my Google Drive is betraying me. One moment, please. All right, here we go. This is called Road Trip with My Uncle's Playlist. I spent 24 racing time zones of tidal pools filled with half-thawed miracles and a pound of flesh. A flash flood in the Joshua trees ambled right into my car. In the tender way, emergencies engulf your tires, still your engines. Jamie and the thunderclouds faced each other and both opened their mouths. He swallowed the whole storm and planted his garden before he fell down dead. I keep finding all his memories inside sea anemones and scorpions. My garden swallows the rain. My tongue swallows the rot. This is kind of a new format that I've been experimenting with. So this one is still very much kind of a work in progress, but I'm having a lot of fun experimenting with it. It doesn't currently have a title. Um, One, come into a well-worn seat at a familiar table with the blood in your ears rushing. Ceramic plates and the low radio. You're telling your parents about a song. You're singing a song. To remember more of your childhood, turn to poem 3. To grow up, turn to poem 2. 2. In the desert, you are far from home, and there's always some train passing through on a half-forgotten lover. The pre-dawn musk of the bedsheet smells like rain, but it's not. You were late for work at the railroad crossing, stepping on the gas when you shouldn't be. To die, turn to poem 3. To look up in time, turn to poem 1. 3. When the creek is high and foaming, the bank comes off in pieces against the gravity of your rubber boots. You often imagine you are the only person who knows this place. Your legs carry bruises collected from living plumb level with the dirt. June bug hum on the wind, your mother calling you for dinner, up the hill in a warm house with the lights on and everyone home, the dog at your heels, blackberries eye level in the yellow dusk, to go inside for dinner, turn to poem 1, to lay down in the field, stay here. This is called Bloom Event. In the summers, I would crawl thigh deep into the pond above the pasture, soft silt skin coated into a monster. I loved the monster. The mud loved me. Half of the oxygen in the world comes from algae. God is green and single-celled. I knew this before I knew the thing about algae. Someday, the bottom of the pond will fill in or fall out. Perhaps it already has, dug out by hands or the time, but the algae will stay, wet green enamel, in my palms, jeweled beneath my fingernails, into my bloodstream. The algae blooms quickly. Oh, to transform so easily. Oh, to be nourished so well. Okay. This is called Poem at the Ocean again. Church of the Cracked Windshield parked on the jetty. Water thick with birds and sticky storm remnants. Hollow trachea life raft. The other birds look back at me eventually, but the pelicans never do. With their mouths large enough to hold something alive, something doomed. A pelican's pouch can hold more than his belly. What can you do with all of the things you take into your mouth but cannot stomach? I wonder if it's warm in there. I wonder if the light is beautiful through a membrane of flesh and veins, if fish know the difference between beauty and anything else, if I know the difference between beauty and being consumed. Me and the fish, fugitives. I hope my body is never found. I hope I melt into the soil asleep. All right, I just have 2 more brief ones for you guys tonight. Again, thank you so much for having me here. This one is called Autopsy. It's all here. Swollen whale tongue, sand caked and sun ripe, split open with estuary blessing to sweet rot. Chewing on philosophy at the surf break, primordial parable gutted and horizon blind, car and drive, Pistol River. One more poem about the view from the guardrail. An exit wound through a fog bank, hulking carcass on the coastline, wet feet, patched wetsuit, and porch haircut, dumb mammal preserved in salt. And this is called Look Me in the Tongue, a travel log of my teeth. The gravel road I grew up on is blood-stained from knees and blackberry finger paint. I caught a south wind in my tooth gaps and took off, belly aching about overwhelm, with the fruit still falling heavy and sun-warm right into my hands. My friends and I resurrected wonder back out west, gutted a fish and sewed seams, and there it is in everything, green and trembling. My friends' faces floating in the river, beyond the banded holler of certainty, beyond that, more green. After an equinox of running full sprint toward the horizon, we'll be slowing down eventually. Somewhere on the side of a desert highway, there's a ditch filled with everything ever lost, and I'll fall down sweating next to it, show it some nakedness and a speed limit sign. Back in the field, the cows are watching one another die, and the far side of the pasture blooms a summer's worth of cherries pits doing the same. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Annika, for taking us home on that marvelous note. Hearts were leaping in the chat at the ends of those incredible poems. And that was Annika Bratton, who you can find on social media at Instagram rather, at Annika Allegedly, ANNIKA_allegedly. Also, Annika works not only in poetry, but in linocut art and paintings, which you can find on her art Instagram account, which is at cowboy_Annika. So keep an eye out for Annika's work in poetry and in visual art. Yeah, I'm always phenomenally impressed with multi-genre artists who join us on the series. So thank you for being here, and thank you all so much for joining us this evening. When we arrive at the end of our reading order, there's always a little bit of bittersweetness, but also a huge heartload of gratitude. Just to close, I want to say thank you so much to all of our readers for sharing their beautiful work with us tonight. And thank you to listeners if you're here in the Zoom call with us, or if you're watching this on YouTube. We appreciate you giving this 3/4 of an hour or so of your life over to poetry. And I do hope if you're listening with a sheaf of new shit close at hand, or if you have a friend who you trade poems with and you're like, that person should read some of those, please have them get in touch with us or get in touch with us yourself. We would love to hear from you, love to think about trying to get you on one of the readings. We do have some pretty full lineups coming up for the fall, but there's ones of these every month, and we can always find some ways to fit you in and figure it out how to make it happen. So we also always close Nightlight readings with a poem. So I'm going to read to wrap us up tonight. A poem that feels pretty timely. It's a poem by Jeffrey Hill. It's called September Song. And, there are a couple of poems and things that were read tonight that allude to it. There's a lot of not great stuff going on in the world just now, to put it incredibly, incredibly lightly. And this poem was written about one of the deportees that went to a concentration camp in 1942. It's called September Song. It's from Hill's book, King Log, and here it is. September Song. Born June 19th, 1932. Deported September 24th, 1942. Undesirable you may have been, untouchable you were not forgotten or passed over at the proper time. As estimated, you died. Things marched sufficient to that end. Just so much Zyklon and leather, patented terror, so many routine cries. I have made an elegy for myself, it is true. September fattens on vines, roses flake from the wall. The smoke of harmless fires drifts to my eyes. This is plenty. This is more than enough.